Bathong, exploring South African slang in Twitter discourse. South African tweets usually have a slang and a mix of languages, which is called code mixing embedded in them. Code mixing and slang is usually done in South African indigenous languages and English. This project uses a dataset from Twitter containing tweets with the phrase Bathong, which is a Setswana word used to express surprise, disgust, happiness, shock, which has been modified in Twitter to add certain meanings as well. The research questions are: what is the extent in which the common Setswana slang with Bathong features in tweets, and what are the sentiment and topics surrounding the use of the word? An interesting observation seen when looking at the data is that the data does have some code mixing and some different languages within the data. And then when we look at the languages that come up, we see the top 20 languages there with English dominating as expected, but we've got some other languages like Indonesian, Welsh, French, and some Spanish as well there. But what's interesting is that when we look at the languages, we see that this language TL is supposed to be a Finnish language or tag-along, and this one, which is Indonesian. But when you look at the actual tweets themselves, we can see a bit of Setswana, a bit of Sesotho, and a bit of South African languages coming there, which is shows the incorrect language tagging from Twitter. This then informed the methodology when using multilingual transformer model to translate the tweet in other languages. The results were not promising, so this study is now limited to English languages. So we extracted the English languages and then looked at pre-processing and tokenization, just removing punctuation, emojis, stop words, and things like that. And then we did topic modeling and sentiment analysis using two different approaches, one being LDA, latent directly allocation for topic modeling, which was compared with non-negative matrix, topic modeling, then Vader and textbook for sentiment analysis. Now, looking at the results, we can see the 6 topics that were extracted from the topic modeling exercise using the 2 different approaches. Now, when we look at this is still consistent with the original meaning of Bathong, which is usually used for surprise, shock, disgust, joy, happiness, and humor. For example, in this tweet here, we see things like love, baby, which is mean Bathong was used in an affectionate term there, but we also see some colloquial or slang words for shock, surprise, things like yo, Joe, and things like that. And then also see some humor as well coming through, like this abbreviation LMAO, LMO, and ha ha ha. So we can see that the topics that are surrounding the word Bathong are still somewhat consistent with the original meaning of the Setswana word Bathong. What then becomes interesting is when we look at the sentiment analysis of the tweets. We see that at the start, on when the tweets were collected, just 2009 moving into 2010, the tweets are very polarized. So we see some positive numbers here will be positive sentiments, negative will be negative sentiments, and then 0 will be neutral. So we see that there were polarized sentiments coming through, but as the tweets as the years go by, we start seeing neutral sentiment coming through, which can then suggest or point to the meaning of the word starting to lose its real meaning as it keeps on being used and recycled on Twitter. And then now we're seeing some neutral sentiments coming through towards the later year, which is an interesting observation. Now, some limitations and future work. So the test consists of code mixing and language identification. Of code mixing, as we've seen, and language identification and segmentation is difficult due to no clear tags or demarcation of the tweets. So you're even using multilingual transformers to segment the tweets so we can translate them into English may prove difficult. There's an unsupervised learning approach which requires manual annotations and labeling to evaluate model performance. So the sentiment analysis of the model could not be evaluating using F1 score accuracy and things like that. So it just relied on the on my knowledge of the language, and then we could use multilingual platform was to translate the other text to English that wasn't in English, but this did not prove a worthwhile exercise in this project, as the available transformers could not accurately translate the non-English text and code. So thank you. As we've seen that the word Bathong is extensively used in Twitter discourse, and the sentiments started off consistent with what the Setswana word means, and they've become a bit neutral now.